The thick fog clung to the narrow streets of Ravenshade like a shroud, muffling the distant hoot of an owl. The mystery machine's headlights barely cut through the mist as the gang rolled into town, its neon sign flickering weakly against the gloom. The air smelled of damp wood and something else, something stale, like a memory too old to recall. Velma pushed her glasses up her nose and studied the map on her lap. "This is it," she announced. "The Ravenshade Broadcasting Station. It's been abandoned since 1974, right after the infamous Lost episode aired." Daphne flipped through her notes. Every crew member involved disappeared. No bodies, no leads, nothing. Just gone. Shaggy shivered and pulled Scooby closer. "Like, remind me again why we're looking for a haunted tape? Wouldn't a nice, normal treasure hunt be better?" The station loomed ahead, a hulking relic from another era. Its once pristine sign was now barely legible beneath decades of grime. Fred pulled the van to a stop, and the gang stepped out, their footsteps crunching on the overgrown pavement. The doors were ajar, swinging slightly in the wind. "Someone's been here recently," Fred noted, running a hand over the dust-free handle. Velma adjusted her flashlight and stepped forward, her breath visible in the cold night air. "If the tape is still here, we have to find it." With a collective deep breath, they pushed inside. The interior was a graveyard of forgotten technology. Old cameras lay toppled, film reels scattered across the floor like fallen leaves. The air was thick with dust and the scent of rotting paper. Shaggy coughed. "Like, this place could use a serious spring cleaning." But something wasn't right. Scooby whined, his ears perking up as he sniffed the air. There was a hum, a low, crackling noise coming from the end of the hall. Daphne motioned for them to follow as they crept toward the control room. The door creaked open, revealing a room frozen in time. An old television monitor sat in the center, its screen flickering with static. A single VHS tape rested on the console, unmarked except for a handwritten note beside it. "Don't watch it." Fred picked up the tape, turning it over in his hands. "This has to be it." Velma hesitated before pressing a few buttons on the control panel. The static shifted, forming a distorted image. A young woman stood in the center of the screen, her wide eyes locked onto the camera. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The footage stuttered, her form jerking unnaturally, like a puppet caught in invisible strings. Then the screen went black. "Jinkies," Velma whispered. That wasn't a recording glitch. That was something else. Daphne reached for the note, her fingers trembling slightly. "Someone tried to warn us. But why leave the tape here?" A loud clunk echoed through the hallway, making them all jump. Shaggy grabbed Scooby in a panic. "And dash end up. I vote we leave." But before they could move, the television turned itself back on. The screen remained dark, but the sound of breathing filled the room slow, deliberate, as if someone was standing right behind them. Fred turned sharply, shining his flashlight into the empty corridor. "Nothing. We need to go. Now." Velma grabbed the tape, and the gang sprinted back toward the exit, the sensation of unseen eyes following their every step. Just as they reached the door, a voice crackled over the long-dead speakers. "You shouldn't have taken it." Shaggy let out a strangled yelp as they piled into the mystery machine. Fred floored the gas pedal, the tires screeching against the wet pavement. As they sped away, Daphne risked one last glance through the rear window. The station stood silent and still, swallowed by the fog. But in one of the upper windows, a shadow remained a lone figure watching as they disappeared into the night. The tape sat between them, pulsing with an unspoken dread. Whatever mystery they had uncovered, it wasn't over. It was only just beginning.
The gang stood frozen, their breath shallow. The Scarecrow's post stood empty, with only frayed ropes swaying in the cold wind. Fred tightened his grip on the flashlight. "Stick together? If this is a trick, we'll figure it out." A rustling sound cut through the night. Not the wind, but something pushing deliberately through the corn. Shaggy backpedaled into Scooby. Or we could not investigate the murder plants. Velma's flashlight beam darted across the field. It's moving between the rows. Watch the pattern. A loud crack came from the barn. The old door shuddered, their hinges groaning under some unseen force. Fred spun toward the sound. It's trying to flank us. Daphne grabbed his sleeve. Or hurt us. As they edged backward, another loud crack echoed from the barn. The upper hayloft door swung lazily despite the still air. Velma swallowed hard. 2 options. We run for the house or we face whatever's in there. A heavy thud sounded from inside the barn as something landed on the wooden floor above them. Shaggy yelped while Scooby leapt into his arms. New plan. Car. Now. Fred flung open the barn door, his light cutting through the dust-filled air. Hay bales stood in uneven stacks, casting jagged shadows. A rusted tractor sat abandoned in one corner. Fresh footprints marked the dusty floor. Daphne crouched to examine them. Too small for Whitaker. A child's footprints? A scratching sound came from above. All lights snapped upward, revealing 2 glowing eyes blinking from the hayloft. Shaggy made a noise like a deflating balloon. The shadow figure leapt down, landing in a crouch before them and scattering hay everywhere. Fred's trembling flashlight revealed a girl about 12 years old in a dirt-streaked dress. Lucy Whitaker stood before them, her wild hair partially hiding a face pale with fear. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Daphne stepped forward. Your dad said you were inside. Lucy's gaze darted toward the fields. I had to see for myself. It's different at night. It watches. Velma adjusted her glasses. The scarecrow? Lucy nodded. It walks the fence line first. Then it waits by my window. Shaggy made the sign of the cross. Okay, officially the worst bedtime story. Fred knelt to Lucy's height. Has it ever touched you? She shook her head. But it wants to. I feel it. Outside, a crow's caw was suddenly cut short. The barn fell into an unnatural silence. Scooby's ears perked up. Roo-row? Then came a distant but unmistakable thump, like a heavy sack hitting dirt. Another thump followed, closer this time. Lucy's breath hitched. It's coming. Fred shoved the barn door open and froze. At the edge of the cornfield, silhouetted by moonlight, stood the scarecrow. Its tattered coat billowed despite the still air. Another heavy thump sounded as it took a deliberate step forward. Not a stumble or jerk, but a purposeful stride. Shaggy made a sound like a stepped-on mouse. Fred slammed the door shut. Back exit, now. They bolted through the stalls, Lucy leading them to a side door covered in cobwebs. The gang spilled out into the night just as the main barn doors burst open behind them. No time to look back. They sprinted for the farmhouse, corn leaves whipping at their arms. Lucy's bare feet kicked up dirt as she gasped. Porch! The keys under the... A terrifying rustling sound came from the stalks behind them. Daphne risked a glance over her shoulder and saw it. The scarecrow gliding through the corn, arms outstretched like a sleepwalker. Move, Fred roared. They reached the porch in a panicked tangle. Daphne overturned a flower pot and grabbed the rusted key beneath it. The lock clicked just as the scarecrow emerged from the field, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Fred hauled Lucy inside as the others piled in behind them, slamming the door shut. Velma threw the deadbolt just as something heavy thumped against the wood. Silence fell. Shaggy collapsed against the wall. I'd like to file a complaint with the Haunted Tourism Bureau. Then came an awful scratching sound. Long, slow claws dragging down the door outside. Lucy's whisper cut through the dark. It knows where I sleep.
Creeping through the haunted halls, footsteps echo, shadows crawl. Scooby's trembling knees are weak, but a Scooby snack will do the trick. Scooby-Doo, Roo-row, where are you? Monsters, ghosts, and clues to pursue. Zoinks and chickies, what will we do? Stick with the gang, we'll pull it through.